Good evening, everybody. And how is your Friday evening? Always a joy for us to come to you from before and after I say I do. Yes, I'm your host, Pauline Gikang'ah, and my guest is already with me. I'm going to give him a chance to introduce himself shortly. And as we are all aware, this month we have been talking on the before I say I do, and our topic has been, or rather our theme has been, don't stop living. You know, the many times when you're single, you really need to get married and you want to get married. Years are going, you want to buy things. You're told if you buy things, if you buy property, someone may not come, may not be there, or anything. Even a man, you keep on being asked all these questions. And from the first and the second week of this month, we've had guests who have shared real life experiences that they have been through in the course of their waiting. And so today I have a guest. We are going to talk about self-care before saying I do, because we know a lot is happening, and so we need to do, yes, as much as we continue living, but what do we need to do before as ourselves, as a single person, as a single lady, as a single man, before we say I do? And now, without further ado, I want to invite my guest to introduce himself to the viewers. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Pauline. My name is Kimani Githogo. I don't know to what extent I can introduce myself, Pauline, because you did not even give me an indication. But from the professional perspective, I am an advocate and counselor psychologist. I'm also a mediator and part-time trainer at Pan-African Christian University dealing with marriage and family therapy. That's all, Pauline.
Wow, thank you very much. And it's a joy that you'd find time over your very busy schedule to come and be with us. We are so grateful that you could be with us this evening. Now, Mr. Githongo, like I've just shared earlier with our viewers, that we've been talking about before we say I do, you know, and our focus has been don't stop living. Like, you know, the way I don't want to do this, least. So I'm living, yes, but I'm really not progressing because I have this thought. And many ladies, and I bear them witness, I was there as well. When you get to that point of you really want to have a home, you want to get married, most of the time you get preoccupied by that thought. Preoccupied, yes, you do an achievement, you're excited, but there's something telling you, but I'm not yet married, but I'm not yet married. But then we've been encouraging people, even gentlemen, you know, they do a lot, but then they go home, they go home and they're told, hey, when are you bringing somebody, you know? And yet they have done all they could. They're probably going through broken relationships. They're really not getting there. And so, yes, they want to get married. They want to keep moving, which we have been saying, don't stop living, but they still have this thing hanging around. And so today, we are having you to discuss the issue of self-care, so that even as we are preoccupied by when will I get married, what is there for, what do I need to do? And I think for the first thing that I would ask you, Mr. Githongo, is what is self-care?
Right. Pauline, there isn't one word to describe self-care, because across very many professions, they have their way of doing self-care. What we are talking about is wherever you are you capable of taking care of yourself? And in the counseling profession, we keep on saying, take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, nobody will. Yes. Most of the times, we don't really understand what is going on in the mind or in the lives of the people we associate with on a day-to-day basis. Where I could be here laughing, but deep in me, I'm mourning. So whenever you are, and in whichever field that you are, whatever you feel that is actually challenging you negatively, the best thing to do is get a confidant, get a companion, get somebody that you can share with before you even go to either counseling or therapy or whatever. And I know the statement that keep on saying that a problem spoken is a problem half solved. And basically, if you can be able to express yourself without condemning yourself, and to people who cannot also be judgmental to you, that is a measure of self-care. Number two, always have positive self-talk about yourself.
Yes.
You can actually emulate the former president of America who says, yes, we can. And you can also say, yes, I can. In spite of the challenges that I am going through, I know for sure that we can be able, or I can be able to overcome.
Wow, wow, amazing. And so, how can one better understand themselves? Yes, I have what you have shared, but then what can I do to better understand myself?
There is normally something we run, and we normally do it with the people who come to us asking that particular question. And you get to know yourself through yourself first. What are your weaknesses and what are your strengths?
Yes.
On the other hand, what you know about yourself is not enough. You also need to associate yourself with the people that you are interlinked with on a day-to-day basis, maybe family, also work colleagues, or people you share groups, and you can ask them, who am I in terms of strength? How do you view me? How do you view me in terms of weaknesses?
Yes.
When that comes, then in that event, what will happen is a simple thing that you get to know yourself through yourself.
Yes.
You get to know yourself through other people.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, sorry, I've had to bring Mr. Githongo's, he had actually shared the link. We normally do we normally do this from Facebook Live, but Mr. Githongo had shared with his contacts. So we are, yes, having some people in with us today, and we really hope we could put our mics, we can put our mics off because, let me see, we can mute. Let me
From your end, you can also mute them.
Yes,
From your head as the host, you can mute them.
Yes, so yes, so we welcome you to this is a special edition. We normally have just the host and myself and our guests together, but we have you over coming to us and others viewing us from Facebook Live. So we welcome you as we are continuing on with this series of what is self-care before I say I do. So thank you, Mr. Githongo. So you are continuing on. I was asking you, how can someone better understand themselves before they get married? Because at times we wait to be defined by, I need to understand myself. A lady, a man, how do I better understand myself?
As I've just said a few minutes ago, what we normally do is let us run a simple test. Like, do you know yourself in terms of your strengths, in terms of your weaknesses, in terms of the opportunities available for you, and what are the threats to that opportunity? What we simply call a SWOT analysis of yourself. I know majority of the people are very conversant with doing a SWOT analysis on their company, on their church, on their institutions, but you hardly do a SWOT analysis on yourself. Once you have done it on yourself, to borrow from psychology, we have what we call the Johari window. And Johari window talks about 4 pains. The 4 pains means, 1, you know yourself. Number 2, others know you just like you know yourself. And therefore, whatever weaknesses, whatever strengths you have, they can actually be replicated by the other people. And you can actually ask them to write. There's a 3rd window which says that others know something that you actually don't know about yourself. Yes. And most of the times they write and you're like, oh my God, I did not actually know that I am actually like that. The last window is the one that nobody knows. You don't know, and I don't know. And that sometimes we apply it in terms of danger. If you see a snake, you may never know what you may do. You may freeze, you may free, or you may strike it. You never know where that courage could come from. So a SWOT analysis of knowing yourself is okay. And before you get married, let your partner also do the SWOT analysis. Compare this and be able to get to know, are we on the same wavelength? Do we share strengths? Do we share weaknesses? And that is self-awareness. And the last one, which we normally take through people, premaritals, even on a normal discussion, is expectations. What are the expectations? And they range from religion to children to in-laws to investments to so many things, even hobbies. And once you know that your hobbies are aligned to your partner's hobbies, or you are diametrically opposed to each other, then you can be able to address that. And when it comes later on in your marriage or in your relationship, at least you are aware that this was it. So that is self-awareness on your part and on the part of maybe your partner before and after.
Before and after. Wow. Amazing. Now, Mr. Githongo, do you think you've talked about the SWOT analysis, but do you think doing a personality test with with the person you're dating would help as the people moving into marriage, and how would it help? Or and whatever the outcome, what would be an advisable way to move forward?
As a matter of fact, that is my simplified way of doing the personality test. Because some of the scripts that we normally get and we go through them, they are rather confining in the questions that they ask. But if you're able to go through a self-analysis yourself about the issues that you actually know yourself, and they're not being forced upon you, they become okay. But to the psychologists who are able to run a very competent personality test, it is very, very okay, because it will give me an indication about who I am. It will give me an indication about who my partner to be is, or if we're in a current marriage, it will be able to illuminate to me some of the traits that I see, and then I can relate them back to the personality. So yes, a personality test is okay, but bring it down to the level of the few understandings that we can be able to cope with.
Now, is there, I don't know, I just thought about it right now, Mr. Githongo. Is there any two personalities that you'd say would not be a good match?
Every one of
One.
us, every one of us has got all the traits in all the four different personalities: the melancholic, the phlegmatic, the choleric, and the sanguine. But two cholerics will be, two melancholics will be impossible. Just like we talked about, we used to, was it in chemistry or physics, that unlike poles attract, unlike poles repel. And therefore, if you're so strong-willed, and I'm also so strong-willed, nobody is going to control the other, and there'll be chaos. If you're so outgoing and I'm also so outgoing, we'll wreck our relationship. There must be some match. However, that does not mean that two cholerics, two melancholics cannot be able to make a life. It is just to do it in moderation.
Wow. And it's interesting, Mr. Githongo. I mean, like you said, I think that's how God makes it. And most people will always be different from one another. All right. So what, according to you, causes very early separation and divorce? So these people have come in, they have been looking forward to get married. Is it something, what according to you would cause early separation? I mean, we are having people separating at a month, 3 months, a year.
Let me put it from a different perspective. The reasons for separation, and you can even go all the way to divorce, are the same reasons that we marry. Why do we marry? Because of love, maybe because of children, maybe because of companionship, maybe because of so many other things. And they're the same things that actually cause the separation. And if you do not address those things, then you will find yourself, even within the very first week, you are having difficulties. Because the very first week, if you never addressed in-laws, and then I find all your relatives are in my house, and I'm not used to this, then there'll be problems. So it is very, very difficult to pinpoint one particular aspect. What you need to understand it is, why am I marrying? Is it because of having children? Is it because I want to have a companion? Is it because of love? Is it because of money? Is it because all those reasons are the same reasons which are going to cause a breakdown in the relationship, leading to separation and eventually divorce?
Hmm. Okay. So now childhood, we always say that we are our environment. What from childhood can affect someone in marriage if not dealt with before? From
That's
childhood.
it's a very big topic, very, very big topic. And from the psychological world, we keep on saying we are the product of nurture and nature. And eventually, what normally happens is that the environment you live in, if you live in Rome, most likely you're going to be a Catholic. If you live in Egypt, most likely you're going to be a Muslim. If you live in Kijabi, most likely you never take alcohol. And therefore, whatever is within your environment is going to
Yes.
shape you, unless obviously the fact that other conditions may or personalities may make you get out of that particular environment. And that is why we see sometimes some of the Europeans who come over and they come over with their children who are not even wearing a sweater
Yes.
whatsoever, but it is freezing. But for them, it is actually summer because of
Mm-hmm.
the environment that they have lived in. So
Mm.
if you live in a family which is very, very abusive or dysfunctional, and you do not address that particular issue, most likely, even in your marriage, you'll continue with that dysfunctionality because of
Mm.
the environment that you are actually brought up in. So
Ye-
environment is very, very key.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Thank you for that perception, that perspective, that how you brought it up. Now, psychologically, somebody is single, a lady, and take us to the psychological aspect. How can they take care of themselves psychologically? A single lady, a single man, a gentleman.
Pauline, there is no book that I can
Mm,
refer you to how to go through the motions. There isn't a single one. There is not
mm,
a single person in this world I can refer you to get to know. This is just a matter of experience. And
mm,
remember that from where you are, whichever estate you are, whichever village that you are, is totally different from the environment that I am in.
mm-hmm,
However, there are red flags all through. Uh, Between you and I, what is it that we are in for? And you may want to remember the different kinds of love, because when we meet, it is all the issues to do with passion, intimacy. But then
mm-hmm,
we forget the last component, which is the commitment. And therefore, you will realize that by and by, as the love, as the last wanes off, you're going to get to an issue where now you need to make some little bit of commitment.
mm-hmm,
You are telling this particular person, or even this particular person can see, and I can say it. Sometimes we men don't even know that your hair needs a hairdo, but you
yes,
expect me to know. So if you don't discuss some of these things, it becomes very, very difficult. And when
mm-hmm,
it comes up to gender differences, what men know and do, what ladies know and they do not actually communicate to the other person, it becomes quite a problem. So
mm,
what I normally urge is that just go with a hunch. Is this a particular good person for you? Is it not a bad person for you? But do not be carried away by the wind. Do not be carried away by the love. Love will win. What will be left at the end of the day is not even intimacy, it is actually commitment. And that commitment can actually drive away the love and the intimacy or rekindle it much more than actually when you are young.
mm-hmm. Wow, thank you for that, Mr. Githongo. Now we are saying, I mean, as counselor, psychologist, every time is mental health, mental health, and just remember, our focus in this program is most of the people we have been addressing is people who have come to a point of feeling I actually need to get married. I'm not yet in a relationship. Some are in a relationship. How would they know, that I am okay, my mental health, I'm fine, I'm not ill, so that then I don't get in when I am not okay?
I know mental health has been stigmatized by many people, and in also our own professionals, in particular those who are not in the counseling and psychological field. It has been stigmatized. So what is the meaning of mental health as I can define it in simpler terms? Whenever you feel you're not okay, that's an issue for mental health. And you can wake up one day and you feel you don't actually want to go to work or to your normal routine. And therefore, that is an issue of mental health. So how do you overcome that particular issue without stigmatizing it? By actually what you have said a little bit earlier on, self-care. If you're not sleeping enough, sleep enough. If you're not eating well, eat well. If you're not keeping good relations, keep them well. And mental health does not necessarily have to lead to a psychiatric problem. We're just talking about the normal confusion or the normal conflicts we have in our own minds about doing this or not doing the other before we label it as a medical condition. So mental health is very, very paramount in our lives, and not only in the lives of the adults, but also in the lives of children. If we don't bring them up well, there will be issues. So what we need to look at is the red flags about mental health. When I feel that I am not enjoying the things that I used to enjoy, I'm not enjoying the company of other people, I am sleeping too much or not having sleep at all, I am not eating well, or I am overeating, small, little things, and then you withdraw from your social contact. That is what is the normal realm psychologically of mental health. And this does not require medication at all. It just requires maybe socializing with the people who can be able to talk positively about you as you talk positively about yourself, even before it goes to psychological support. But if that within your social circles you are not able to get yourself up, then you move on to the psychological support.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, like I explained earlier, many people, before even getting to the Mr. or Mrs. Right, go through broken relationships. I mean, many will tell you I was in one, I was in two. A gentleman will tell you I've tried many, it's not working. And so, how would you tell such somebody out there who is dating and it's not happening? How do they deal with the loss of of a relationship, so that they are not rebounding, they are not getting into another one before they have healed from this one? How would they heal?
In the first instance, you need to analyze what is the relationship that you are in and why did it break down. Once you get to realize that, then you can be able to observe the cautions, the challenges, or the red flags that emanated from that particular earlier relationships. Again, you need to ask yourself, do I need to go into another relationship that could eventually end up being like this one? That's number two. And number three, is it that I'm running to get a shoulder to lean on even before I get to address the issues that cause the breakdown of the other one? And we have seen most of the times that you move from one relationship, you have not addressed the issues, you have not healed, and then you go to another one and you give your all, and then you are still disappointed because you are looking this as a cure. Another relationship is not a cure. What is a cure is addressing the issues that you faced in the earlier relationship. And if you cannot be able to address them yourself, go to a counselor, go to a psychologist, go to a mental health expert who can be able now to walk the journey with you, analyze it, and be able to open your eyes to see the issues that were there so that you don't repeat.
Okay. Mr. Githongo, somebody from Facebook is asking, Please tell us what SWOT analysis is. You mentioned it
Oh,
earlier. So maybe
the
you can
SWOT.
break down as you are advising that people should take it. You can break it down for them.
Yeah, the SWOT analysis is an acronym or abbreviation of S stands for your strengths, W stands for your weaknesses, O stands for opportunities that you have in your life, and T stands for threats, the threats to those opportunities. Yes, you do that analysis.
You do it for yourself. Thank you very much. And I think most people do it for their companies where they work or where, and we forget to do it on ourselves. So thank you for giving us that as a tool of self-care. Now, when can you know that you're not prepared for a relationship? Or can you know that you're not prepared for a relationship that may lead to marriage?
When you keep on doubting, where is this relationship headed to? When you ask a question and you're not given an answer, or you're given an answer for the sake of getting out of that particular debate or topic, then you may want to know that actually you're not ready for it. If you yourself have a hunch that you're not comfortable with this particular either person, or there is something at the back of your mind telling you, am I really ready for this? Sometimes it is time to realize that we are not yet there. And it does not have to be you yourself. It could be that the other partner is not also ready. Most of the times we see these red flags and we ignore them. And we think as soon as we tie the knot, we are going to overcome these kind of things. Unfortunately, they actually redouble. They double up to what you are seeing before. And this is why it is always important to have another person who can be able to analyze with you. And I know sometimes we go to the wrong people. We could go to our girlfriends, we could go to our men friends, we could go to other people. I think for people who have been in marriage for long, they can work with you. But I would prefer a professional counselor, a professional psychologist, a professional marriage and family therapist who has been there before and who can be able to tell you either those are red signs or the things you can overcome, or you take your partner there and you address them gently.
Now, Mr. Githongo, when I put this poster out, somebody told me, why is it so hard? Asked, why is it so hard for someone to even listen, to a counselor? You're saying that go to a counselor or, or maybe an older couple who they've been married before, that people are actually shown, this is the real picture. This is what you're bringing. This is, these red flags are very alarming, but someone is not able to just take it and they want to still continue with this relationship. Is there an answer to that? Why is it so hard to see that this is a red flag and get out of that relationship? Is there a force?
I think the first thing is counseling itself has been a little bit stigmatized. And from the male that I am, most of us are the most difficult people. You say, I don't have an issue. I don't need to see a counselor. It also goes to some of the ladies and they say, me, I don't have an issue. I know I can sort it out. And that is the beginning of actually your downfall. And that is why sometimes we are combining the profession of mediation and counseling, because I know for sure if I tell the people, come, I think you have an issue, or somebody will come and say, I want us to talk, not necessarily even talking about counseling. And this is why now we need to destigmatize what counseling is, what mental health is, what psychology is. And we tell them we don't read people's minds. We just go there and have a conversation and be able to point you to a direction or be able to understand where you're coming from and see whether we can be able to unveil what is troubling you. So for those people who are actually in a bad relationship and they don't even want to get out of it, it's just because the inner eye has not been opened up. They have not listened to any other voice. And I could actually give you an example about us when we were young. If Pauline, you told me to leave Lucy, I would be dying for the evening to go and tell Lucy, actually, Pauline was telling me to leave you. And then Lucy will say, yeah, it's because Pauline wanted you or something like that. All those kind of things. So we enclose ourselves to only me and Lucy. I can't see anything else. She can't see anything else beyond that. But if for one reason you go to a mental health expert, you go to a counselor, you go to a psychologist, or you go to somebody who has been there before, they may be able to be telling you, I think what he is saying or she is saying, that's a red flag. Can you be able to explore it on your own without even sharing it with this particular person? And that is why even in counseling, we normally split the couple and we tell them, let me see the man separately, let me see the lady separately, because there could be some fears that they could express, or there could be some simple statements that the lady says or the man says, and from the counseling perspective, you see, this is a red flag. So we owe it to our population to psycho-educate them, just like we are doing here on Facebook, just like we are doing it in our churches, just like we do it in our villages. And it is very, very important that we can be able to be calling the couples, whether before marriage and even after marriage, and we work with them, because the relationships are dynamic and they keep on changing. And the moment you ignore one or two things, the thing is that you're going to have trouble at a later stage.
Okay. You're going to have, all right. So I'll take you back. I know I had asked about separation and divorce, but I just want to ask you, why is there more divorce now and separation than before? Or is it that we never used to? Someone is asking, is it that we never used to hear about it? Or why is it so rampant?
Let me take it from the perspective of the population. Obviously, we also never used to have very many deaths as we are having them today, or very many diseases. So population has increased. And as population increases, dynamics also change. And therefore, whereas like in my family, we are actually 6 of us, 5 boys and 1 girl. If any one of us divorced, it may not be story. But between us, we have also given birth to other children. We are reaching now 50. So if 20 of our children are divorced, that is a little bit alarming. So that's just population, but just population. Number 2 is that the dynamics of the society have changed. Maybe our own mothers used to persevere a lot. The current generation of the female cannot be able to persevere some of the things that our mothers really went through. And then we have also on the other side, our men. Maybe men were absolutely responsible. I'm hearing now today they are actually abandoned, and majority of them have run into alcohol and other types of addiction. So provision by the men is quite a problem. Again, what is the leadership that the men are giving? And if the lady is the one that is taking care of the children, taking care of the basic needs within the house, and this particular man is not providing, or if he is actually earning, he is spending his money elsewhere in his own leisure, what is the use of this particular person? I'd rather be alone. And lastly, there are those people who are called in Kiswahili sumbua. Sumbua too. I mean, that is the password now. I don't want to be kusumbua. So there are ladies who have looked at it and they are called the special, single ladies by choice. They looked at the way things are and they simply do not want anything to do with a man. Yes, they may get a kid with a man, but they don't even want that man to come anywhere near the lady, because they think that getting a man is just a nuisance on account of perhaps what is happening within the society. And lastly, maybe also accusing the men. Can men stick in one relationship, or they'll still be looking around for other types of relationship? And that in the current dispensation is not appealing to the ladies at all. And most of them just say, I'd rather stick alone rather than having somebody, and I have to keep on looking after him wherever he is.
And is that one for the men? Is it a current trend or has always been there?
For the current one, maybe a little bit early on, polygamy was allowed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
I'll just bring another lady and I bring another lady. But today, would the ladies, majority of them will not stand polygamy. It is me, and that is about all.
Yeah.
So it may not be a very current trend, and I know there's a debate that we can talk until cows come home, but always get to know that all relationships are totally different, and relationships break when you break that particular trust, that you say that it is only me and not anybody else. And therefore, when it happens that you're breaking that particular trust, issues will absolutely arise. But on account of population and the societal trends that, boys are saying, well, you may call them boys, even at the age of 45, they're calling themselves boys. And they say they go to Masaku 7, or they go to Dara 7s in Kisumu, or they go on a road trip, or they go on other things, and their ladies are not okay. The ladies, on the other hand, are also organizing themselves in groups, and they say, we are going on this road trip, we are going on this team building as ladies alone. And those dynamics are causing a lot of lift and separation within the family.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for that profound answer. Now, Mr. Githongo, there's a verse that says love is as strong as death. What does that, I know it's not in the light of psychology, but what does that mean? Love is as strong as death.
Love can cause death, can't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it has caused death.
Yes.
We hear of things called love triangles, which cause deaths. We have seen of suicides, and especially among the teenagers. And as late, because this was in the newspapers, as late as 1.5 weeks ago, an advocate committed suicide on account of the unfaithfulness of his wife.
Yeah.
So love kills. Love is actually death. You joke around with love, you're joking around with death. This is where somebody gives all and say, till death do us part. And those are the operative words. So what does that mean? I can kill for love. And people have killed for love, and they have also been killed on account of love. And love is one of the emotions, and we know what emotions can actually do. When they go out of control, there are consequences. That consequence could be death.
Wow, wow. Thank you for that. Now, can we stay relationships, marriage, and maybe someone, they're not officially married, they're not even traditionally, they've not done dowry and all, and maybe just a few years or 2 years or even one, you're in this can we stay, you even have a child maybe in that relationship. What is the legal aspect, so that, and what would you encourage? I know you're not here to dictate, don't do a can we stay or do, but what is the implication to somebody?
Let me approach it from a legal perspective, quoting the Marriage Act. And we know we have 4 types of marriage. And it is up to you to know which marriage are you in. The number 1 marriage is where we go to the Attorney General, and you marry one wife to the exclusion of all the others. The second one is the one that we go to the church. It is very, very similar to the one of the Attorney General. In fact, what you get from the church is only blessings. The pastor officiating the marriage is an agent of the Attorney General. He is licensed by the Attorney General. And the marriage certificate you get is similar to the one I get when I go to the Attorney General, because it emanates from the Attorney General. And therefore, that is marriage number 2, which is religious, not necessarily Christian, because Muslims have their own, the Hindus have their own, the Buddhas have their own. All Christian marriages, they're recognized now by the Marriage Act. That's number 2. Number 3, we have the traditional marriage. If your culture allows only marrying one wife, then you're stuck with that one. If your culture allows that you can be able to marry more than one woman, then you can do that. And remember, in the African context, I'm yet to hear where a woman marries more than one man. Now, what has happened from the 2014, August of 2014, is that there is this law called the Marriage Act, which actually allows the polygamists to have a marriage certificate to each marriage that they have. What do I mean by that? If tomorrow I marry one lady, on Monday I go to the Attorney General and get a certificate. If I marry the next weekend another lady, I go to the Attorney General and get another marriage certificate. And I can have as many marriage certificates with as many ladies as I marry. That is a third type of marriage, which is called traditional marriage. Those have the certificates, and you can be able to show that, yes, I got married to Kimani on that particular date and witnessed by this. The last one is that one you're calling come we stayed, or it is called cohabitation. Cohabitation basically means that we have lived with you for a long period of time. We never did the traditions. We never went to church. We never went to the Attorney General. But for all practical purposes, we live as husband and wife. And we could actually be having children. Now, the trouble with that particular marriage is that it is not recognized either traditionally or in church or by the Attorney General. And that is not categorized as a marriage. The law calls it presumption of marriage. And when are we going to be presumed that you are married? When there is trouble. When there's trouble, that is the only time that we go rush to court and say, I want to be presumed that I married this particular lady. Or I want to be presumed I married this particular man. And that is when maybe I have died and my wife, so-called wife, is being chased away by my brothers. He is not recognized by the family members. So cohabitation, come we stay, or presumption of marriage can only be ratified by a court case, by a judgment of the court, that actually you two guys were staying together as husband and wife. I must warn that since 2014, when the Marriage Act came into operation, the New Marriage Act of 2014, this particular provision has not been tested in court. But initially, it has been tested, and it has some wives have succeeded, others have not succeeded. I keep on giving the example of my own brother. He was living with a lady, and they actually had a child. And unfortunately, the lady passed on. And we made all burial arrangements until when the relatives came and say, you cannot bury this. You never married her, either traditionally or church. This is our child. It's not yours. And my brother came to me as a lawyer and told me, can we go to court? And I told him, sorry, we cannot go to court. I'm giving a real life situation with my own third-born brother.
And at how many years were they married? Were they staying together?
Around 15 years.
No, wow.
Yes, but they're not married, either traditionally, in church, or anywhere. You're just living like girlfriend and boyfriend, or I don't know whether it's a concubine or whatever. So it is not recognized. And he took on another lawyer. They went to court and they lost the case. All right. Let me add something else there. The children that are born out of that relationship can never be denied the right of parenthood, either the fatherhood or the motherhood. As a result of that one, these are your children, but you're not husband and wife. It can come very close to what we have in the European countries, partners. People live as partners, but not as husband and wife, because the Marriage Act now has given you a leeway, especially the traditional marriages, that you can go do all your traditions and get a marriage certificate. And as a result of that one is that the affidavits that we keep on swearing before advocates that me and Paulina are married and we have 1 children according to whatever customs, is they're no longer recognized. And the Attorney General did issue a gazette notice 2018 saying that those affidavits are not going to be recognized. So it is high time that all those who are living in that kind of accommodation, that they regularize their situation to avoid the disputes that arise in the event I want to kick out the lady I was been living with, or in the event of unfortunate death.
Wow. Someone is asking from the group here, at what stage is a traditional marriage recognized then by the AG? At what stage?
The AG is aware of all the traditions that are supposed to be performed by every single community in Kenya. And there is the traditions that say, is so long as you fulfill a basic 10%, 20%, 50%, it all depends on that particular community. Then you can be legally declared man and wife. Because in our traditions, African traditions, dowry, you can never finish paying dowry. You can never finish paying the bride price. You can never finish fulfilling all the conditions that have been set within the African context. And that is across all cultures in Africa. And actually, it would be very wrong if you just take literally everything you have been asked for. Even your in-laws may refuse to take all of them. So there is that particular stage that the elders now can say, yes, here, according to our customs and traditions, you are now man and a husband and wife. And as soon as that happens, the next Monday, you walk into the Attorney General's office with four witnesses, two on either side, who can be able to come and tell the Attorney General, yes, these traditions have been able to be done. And sometimes we know, because parents are not that unscrupulous, what they normally do is, once you reach a certain age, they say, we have given you blessings. You go and get your marriage certificate. So I would not want to put a fast and firm rule that it is 10% of the of you fulfilling those conditions, or 20 or 50. It all depends on the community you come from, and sometimes also the understanding that the parents have.
Okay. Wow, thank you for that. Someone asked whether you can share a copy of the Gazette notice. I think that one will be able to organize. Now, as we draw towards the close, yeah, and as we talk about, of course, our focus today is self-care for a single person, a gentleman, a young or a lady, before getting married, before getting into any relationship. What would you say, Mr. Githongo, that a lady is looking for in a man? And what do men look for in a lady?
Well, I want to say I haven't come across a manual like that one. And I'm not.
Through your experience, what would you say? I mean, what would make and we are having, like the people I hosted earlier in the month, we are having people getting into their 30s and their 40s. What would you say they are looking for? Not that I know everybody has their time for marriage, but what do women look for? What do we look for in men? And what do you men look for in women?
All right. Let me start by saying this, that men most of the times marry downwards and ladies marry upwards. Let me elaborate that a little bit. It will not be surprising for me to marry my own house help. That is downwards. It will not be surprising for majority of the men, they go to the clubs and they get a lady there and then they just do whatever. On the other hand, I'll be scared of marrying a graduate. I'll be scared of marrying a master's holder or a PhD holder or somebody who is very strong or somebody who is earning more than me. So men marry downwards, they don't marry upwards. On the other hand, women marry upwards. And what are they looking at? They're looking at security, they're looking at protection, they're looking at emotional support, and they're looking for somebody who can be able to take care of the family. Most of the times, men do not even look at that. Sometimes you just look at a figure. Sometimes you look at beauty. Sometimes we look just at the characteristics. But women are very, very particular. I could be very handsome. I could be very lovely. But beneath that, can I provide that particular kind of security that and protection that they do require? Most of the times, men do not look at stability. They look at beauty. and that is the end of it all. And if a lady just gets married on account of beauty, there will be problems. If a lady gets married just because this particular person has promised literally everything, that is on the spur of the moment. And I know majority of the lady will never, ever go by that one. Lastly, men look for obedience. Men look for somebody who can be able to respect them, all right, for who they are, and who is not going to bring down their ego or their esteem. Those are just some of the characteristics there are. Obviously, I know that they are distinct or peculiar circumstances or traits that any human being will look at the other part.
Wow. So men marry downwards, ladies marry upwards. Yeah, did I get it right?
That
Yeah.
is correct. And
Oh,
I may give you an example. Even however handsome the mutu wa makaa is, or the milkman, a lady will never go for that. But it's the reverse for the men.
Okay, all right. Wow, that's an interesting insight. Let me read one question here. Are there any dangers of marrying upwards as a man in a Christian setup? Someone asking from the group here.
Let me quote the words of a friend of mine. He is a Catholic priest. And he said, let us know how we were born and get to know who we are. I was born a boy. I grew up in accordance with my own traditions. I got circumcised. I became a man. So what comes first? Is it Christianity or the man? All right? So you cannot keep on saying that it is Christianity. It is education. It is my status. It is whatever. These things come second. The first thing is you're born a woman and you are born a man. All these others come second. And when they come second, then you need to tamper your manhood with your Christianity, your femalehood with your Christianity, or with your degrees, or your whatever. Yes, you may want to say that all Christians are equal and there is love and there is all those kind of things, but you must understand, even the Bible says a man, is it a man shall leave his people, or is it the woman who lives? Whoever lives.
Man lives.
Yes, they don't say a Jew will live, a Hebrew will live, a Christian will live. They are particular. It is a particular gender. And we are talking about, therefore, gender. And that is why within the Christian context, although this is being abused today, we don't have homosexuality. So that equality is never there. You can even go to the verse that says, wives, submit yourself to your husbands. All right? But I keep on reminding people that above that verse, there is a verse that says, husbands, love your wives. Nice. So yeah. There is always that particular distinction. It doesn't say Christians, love your fellow Christians. The only commandment that was left by Jesus is love your neighbor as yourself, in a sum up of the entire 10 commandments. And therefore, distinguish between your Christianity and your being a man. Because in spite of the best, you can become the best Christian, but if you're not providing security and protection and love and emotional support, you're not a good man. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah, and I'm sure that has been answered. That was Brian who asked that question. Thank you. And there's also submit one to another, which is below that, husbands love and wives submit, isn't it? There's the submitting one to another. What would you say? What would you say about that scripture? Because at times I think we have been hammering only wives submit and husbands love. What about the submitting one to another?
That is what I have said. That we have always misquoted it. Because we keep on saying, wives, submit yourself to your husbands. But we don't look at the earlier verse, which talks about men or husbands, love your wives. There cannot be submission without love. There cannot be submission without respect. There cannot be submission so that I use you as my doormat. It is not absolutely possible whatsoever. The woman was never ever supposed to submit at 100% to a useless man. That is not the interpretation of that.
Wow, wow. Now thank you very much, Mr. Githongo, and we've actually gotten to the end. I'm just about to ask you to give your parting shot, and it was a real joy to have people with us in the Zoom room today. We always air this program on Facebook Live, but over request of Mr. Githongo, we had people with the Zoom room, and it's warm in here having all of you. Thank you for the questions that you brought. And our theme from Before and After I Say I Do, which is the program that comes every Friday at 7:30. The theme this month was Don't Stop Living. You know, that is for anybody who is single, anybody who is not in a relationship or is about to. Don't stop living, because many times we don't progress because there's a lot of external pressure. When are you getting married? Why aren't you seeing somebody? You're growing, you're just becoming, educated, you're just buying a car, a house, and then you stop living. You kind of stall from your ambitions because of the issue of just not getting married. Yet you can be a happy person when you're still single until that time comes. So what would you tell this person as a parting shot, Mr. Githongo, someone who is single, a man or a lady out there listening to you right now from here or even from Facebook Live, about continuing to live? What would be your parting shot?
Relationships are beautiful. Relationships are good. But you can never, ever actually walk in a relationship with your partner, just the two of you. That is like closing yourself up in a boat and you don't see the warmth of the outside world or the cold of the outside world. Before marriage, relationships are very good, and that is why we get lots of problems because we do not know each other. And as a result of that one, just like we keep on telling couples at the wedding day, communicate, communicate, communicate. However, always compare the notes about what is happening. The most unfortunate thing is we may compare the notes with the wrong people. And that is why we have now the professionals who you can go and say, at this particular hunch, what is it that you can be able to do? Now, immediately after marriage, that is when they say the rubber meets the road. And that is where the issues are. And actually, I will say I did not know that she can actually snore. Now she is snoring, just because now we are actually having more time together. And that is the time now to engage in this conversation, which I call post-maritals. It is very, very important that you keep on getting the support for those who have been there, and especially those who have made it, and those professionals that are there who you can work with. There is another segment that perhaps you may want to have a session on. When you divorce, when you separate, or when you are widowed, all right? And then you want to go into another relationship. The dynamics are totally, totally different there. And even the premaritals that need to be done for somebody who has been widowed, for somebody who has lost a loved one through separation and divorce. A lot of issues come there. And thinking that you are actually going to have a relief, you get into bitter mess. And I've seen, especially when you're widowed and you have big children, the children dictate the pace of the next relationship that you're going to be in. Some have been left enslaved by the children. Some have been enslaved by the characteristics that they observed in their former spouses who have passed on. And it is very, very difficult. And also the judgment that the society passes on you, and in particular for most of us who are in the church. And what church says, can you remarry, especially when you are a lady? It becomes quite a big challenge. And I believe, Pauline, that is something that you may want to pick at a later stage. And we speak about them, including issues of matrimonial property, including issues about the children who are born out of the wedlock, or others who come in with a widow or widower that I'm going to marry. Those are so many issues that are around in there. So relationships are dynamic. Let us keep on working on them. And there is no end to working on them until the very last day. You're still working on your relationship. The best thing is to work on them positively. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a joy having you. And someone is asking, Mr. Githongo, there's polygamy is leading to, lack of polygamy is leading to a lot of promiscuity. What is your take? Someone is advocating for polygamy to be, what is your take on that? So that we don't have a lot of cases of promiscuity.
I do not think that polygamy is a cure for promiscuity. We even know those men who are having very many wives that still go out there. And in Kenya, we have them. We knew a Kuku Danger who married, I think, 90 plus wives. Is it that really that was an issue of polygamy? Was polygamy a cure for that? I don't think so. You can go back to your Bible and read about King Solomon with his, is it 300 and 700 concubines and 700 others? Yes. Yeah. So I do not think the cure for promiscuity is polygamy. The pure cure for promiscuity is behavioral change.
Wow. That is all we could have tonight, our viewers from Zoom and from Facebook Live. And it was a joy having Mr. Githongo with us as our guest for tonight for this evening show. And I was your host, Pauline Gikang'ah. And I look forward to having you and meeting you next week, Friday, as we climax our month of Before I Say I Do. And then so that we go over to October on After I Say I Do. So thank you very much. God bless you. Have a lovely weekend. And our Facebook page has been posted there by my assistant. I'm sure you've been able to see it so that you can continue following us even from here. So thank you for being with us. God bless you and bye-bye.
Thank you.